Let's go ahead and run it.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Brett.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150
Before he
countries.
gets into this, pause.
How many illegal...
Guys, if you really want to know what's going on in the border, like if you're actually interested in the immigration crisis, watch the episode that we did with Zach, Apotheker.
Yeah.
Border Patrol agent came in here. We talked about the immigration problem. We went into detail on it. I'll show you guys some of my immigration experience. He shows some of his. It's bad. It's really bad at the fucking border. Okay?
And he could have lost his job.
He's under investigation right now.
Yeah.
Everything that I told him is going to happen, it happened. They called him in for his internal affairs interview. They took his gun. They took his badge, his credentials. He posted about it on Twitter. But we luckily, after we did that episode, I went ahead and got him a lawyer immediately. Next day, I got him a lawyer.
Damn.
So he's gonna fight it. But yeah, man, they've already as soon as he came on, they gave him a memo, cease and desist. Then he got a letter, as anticipated, from Customs and Border Protection and Internal Affairs. He went in, he had a compelled interview with them, because when Internal Affairs investigates you, you have to come in and do an interview. Apparently, he didn't answer some of those questions. So they took his gun and his badge.
What if he wore like
and his body armor, everything.
What if he wore like a mask? And then he did that interview.
Yeah, they wouldn't know who he is. But no one will know if he's telling the truth or not. I mean, we would have had to verify for him, but he's brave, man. He wanted to put himself out there. He's like, no, fuck it. I'm gonna put my face to the name.
W-Mans.
So.
All right.
So yeah.
Yeah, this is good, by the way. This
So yeah, but guys, please go watch that interview if you guys want a real in-depth look at what the fuck is going on the border right now. All right, let's keep cooking.
Illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you
now,
just a number? Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Brett, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question, I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising,
okay.
And I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done
Yes, ma'am.
as the
Many times
Attorney
she says
General,
this.
former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking
In San
of drugs,
Francisco, dude.
guns, and human beings. And
Six
Donald
Democrats-
Trump, but let me just
Nowhere near
finish.
the
Six
border.
And
Democrats
Donald
voted
Trump
against that bill.
learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you.
but actually is focused on fixing
Six
it.
Democrats voted
Pause.
against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8
Like, you got to remember, guys, this is a woman that comes from California. California is one of the worst states when it comes to immigration enforcement. They have a lot of sanctuary cities there. Sanctuary cities are cities that basically don't honor immigration violations. The law enforcement doesn't honor it. If ICE tries to come in and take someone that's an illegal alien, the local PDs won't hold the individual. Hell, when I was with Vitality Catching Predators, LAPD didn't even want to know their status, you know, where if they were illegal or not. So, California is already a failed state that you guys can go ahead and use as almost like a guinea pig of what would come
Homeless
to be
issues,
if she was to come
everything
into
like that.
office.
Yeah.
So no, they're not tough on the border at all. This is a lie. You know, they're not tough on it whatsoever.
I mean, Zach even said the whole like check and balance at the border isn't even there anymore.
fucked.
They're like, you know what? Bring them in. We'll do that shit later.
Yeah.
Like, bro.
Yeah, they're giving a notice to appears. Guys, go watch the interview. We go into way more detail, which I don't want to rehash right now because that'd be an extremely long explanation as to a lot of the immigration terms, because in the immigration world, there's a lot of acronyms that are used. You know, we go into all the detail there. What Title 8 is, NTAs, all this bullshit. But the long story short is this, guys. She could say whatever word salad she wants to say. There's a fucking crisis on the border, and this administration is responsible for it. That's a fucking fact.
Yeah.
As someone who actually enforced immigration and dealt with immigration under Obama and Trump, and then I see what's going on right now, I see the huge... When Trump was in, we were sending everybody back. And this, I always talk about this. I say, you know, the president doesn't influence your life that much, guys. Not that big of a deal. When it comes to immigration, they do influence it because, just so you guys know, immigration is a federal issue only. Okay? So since it's a federal issue, only the president can really do anything about it.
Also,
Because the local governments, if anything, they stay away from it.
Yeah.
They don't want to be involved with it.
Also, you might say, okay, well, Myron Fresh, this doesn't really affect me because, I mean, it's immigration. What am I going to do? But when you get attacked, robbed, or even killed by an immigrant that says, hey, I'm hungry, I need to feed my family, then it's an issue for you and your family. So, yeah, it may not seem as imminent danger now, but guarantee if you get affected by your family or you get attacked, you know, it's...
Yeah, a lot of
only a
these
matter
illegal aliens that come in are coming in with criminal histories, guys.
Look at Europe. Whole mess, bro. Like, dude, they're dealing with a bunch of bullshit. Women getting like dragged and raped and like attacked in public. It's bad,
Mass
bro.
immigration is a problem.
Yeah,
It's a huge fucking problem.
yeah. Cats and dogs being eaten, you know? It's tough, bro.
Mo, you got a response to
Cats Club cooking me.
that? Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep going.
But you know
8
what?
million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday, campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Brett,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Brett.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release, they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungare's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
Oh, nice
Brett.
deflection.
In all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what
Okay,
she and her
she did
family
that
have
pivot.
experienced.
She
During
died.
that time, you said
But let's move on to another
repeatedly
topic.
that the
Yeah.
border
Yo, bruh. Accountability is gone.
Denied.
Damn.
So guys, quick word from our sponsor real fast. You know we don't mess around when it comes to leveling up, and that goes for your coffee too. If you're still drinking that sugary shit, you're already started your morning off wrong. 1775 Coffee's protein creamer is what real men use to start their day. 10 grams of whey protein per serving, designed to build muscle and boost metabolism. Most people are tossing whey protein into their coffee, but we took it a step further and made a creamer with whey protein already built in, no added sugar, just protein. They just dropped this protein creamer along with a whole new lineup. In addition to the classic dark and medium roast, you'll find new coffee pods and a brain-boosting mushroom blend that'll have you focused like a sniper locked in on CNN. Don't start your morning funding the woke mob and dumping garbage into your body. Do it right with 1775 Coffee. Use code FRESH to get 15% off. Guys, I'm drinking 1775 Coffee right now, man. As we walk it like we talk it over here, guys, and they got one that has a protein blend, man, so definitely go show them support. Shout out to 1775 Coffee.
Imagine that was her daughter or her son. You think she'd be so calm and nonchalant about it? No. She'd up in arms and say, yo, who did this shit?
Big facts, bro.
Tough.
Big facts.
Tough. She don't care about nothing, bro.
Nah,
She don't care at all.
definitely not.
You saw her face, she was like, shit, they caught me.
Yeah, because she knows she's damned if she does, damned if she doesn't. So she was just like, I'm not even going to address this shit.
Continue, bro. This fucking... She don't care, bro.
That's a fact. She don't care.
was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett.
Well,
that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question.
But
there were
that's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border
They're frustrated
security
because they
bill
can't do
would
their
have
jobs.
done.
This is
These
typical
guys down at the border, these men
Democrats
and
are in.
women, they're working hard.
They're very
working around the
anti-immigration
clock.
enforcement.
I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for
Someone
driver's
said it.
license,
Oh, so smash
to
Kamala.
qualify
Come on,
for
bro.
free tuition
She
at
got no ass,
universities,
dog. Come on,
to be
you better than
enrolled in
that.
free health care. Do you
Take a while.
still support
So?
those things?
Listen, that was 5
Ain't no
years
way,
ago,
bro.
and I'm very clear that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz, governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law. So do you support that?
We are
Better than
very
niggas.
clear, and I am very clear, as is Tim Walz, that we must support and enforce federal law, and that is exactly what we will do.
Bruh.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
So these are evolutions that you've had.
No, but let's be very clear. I'm the only person who's running for president who has prosecuted
Oh, here we go.
transnational criminal organizations, from the Sinaloa cartel to the Guadalajara cartel to people who have trafficked in guns, drugs, and human beings. I have spent a significant part of my career going after people who present a threat to the safety of the American people and cross our border with the intent of doing us harm and cross our border illegally. And I will do that work as vice president. I take that work quite seriously.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available to on a medical necessity basis.
This is the first time she's done an adversarial interview, by the way.
System. And
I'm shocked her team let her do this.
From the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries
you know what? You got to take responsible for what happened in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in this presidency.
It's in black and white.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said,
so
I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issue.
Can you imagine Russia, China, France, the UK watching this go down as an actual election in America? Like, what a joke, bro. Like, you got this woman no one respects literally running for presidency. You got Trump, who is the man. And it's like, this is even like a debate here. Like, what's going on in America? And you got him almost being assassinated 3 times. It's like, bro, like, this must be a fucking clown show.
Russia would love something like this.
Bro, this is like... Dude, this is like legit a dream for all countries to say, you know what? America's losing its power at this point. So it's just sad though, bro. Like, if I was the enemy, I'd be like, you know what? This is perfect. TikTok is working. We got their people stupid and dumb. They're all worried about Kim Kardashian and like what's going on with that shit. We'll get them soon. Pretty soon. We got them by the balls. Just saying, bro. Just saying. All right, we can continue.
Issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
They say
on
it was
plans for
different,
the
but
American
we'll move
people,
on.
I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with
That
what we
plan
need
is
to do
bullshit. They're just
going to
raise the price
businesses, which are
$25,000.
the backbone of America's
She's basically
economy.
giving the
I'm offering
$25K
a
to people
plan
that
that
buy
is
their
about
first home, but
taking care of
the
young
seller's just gonna
parents
raise the price
and
by
giving them
25.
the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker,
Why do you
would
think more
ignite
people say-
inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Why do you think more people say they trust him on the economy than they trust you?
I think that when you look at an analysis of our plans for what we would do as President of the United States, it has been clear to those who study and understand how economic policy works that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn the page on the divisiveness and the type of rhetoric that has come out of Donald Trump. People are ready to chart a new way forward, and they want a president who has a plan for the future and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one change in terms of, but also I think it's important to say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that
Nothing
you would do
changes.
differently?
Let me be very clear.
They got her.
My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Damn.
And like every new
Now you wanna say
president
it.
that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas,
you came
whether
from a
it be
failed
from the
state and bring those
Republicans who are
failed state
supporting
ideas to
me, who
Washington,
were
D.C.
just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital
See, that's just
to
a
our
bullshit
small
talking point.
business
Pause.
leaders, including my plan for a 25.
We're short 5 million homes. You're not going to be able to do that in 4 years. You didn't do it in the past 4 years. We're still short 5 million homes. It's not happening. Cap. Right? And then the whole 25,000. This woman doesn't understand how real estate works. But to most Americans that also don't understand how real estate works, it sounds good. It's a really good talking point. Yeah. But can she actually fix the housing crisis that we're dealing with right now? Absolutely not. Guys, it's going to take us a decade or more.
Over a decade.
Yeah.
Has
To
to be.
actually deal with this housing crisis. You want to know why we have a housing crisis, by the way? BlackRock and all these companies, right? These BlackRock is the big one. They've bought up a majority of the single-family housing in the United States.
On purpose, by the way.
So they're the ones buying up the homes. This is why so many Americans can't compete with them, because they will overpay for a single-family home, whereas a family can't.
They got the money.
They got the money.
To them, it's an investment. They don't.
And we know who owns BlackRock.
To them, it's a
Larry
it's
Fink?
a long-term game. So once they acquire the asset, it doesn't matter how much they pay for it. Once they own it.
Yep.
So
that's where the housing shortage comes from. We're 5 million homes short, and on top of that, BlackRock owns all of them. So she would need to go ahead and put some legislation in place where, hey, BlackRock can't be just running around buying all the single-family homes.
she can't do that. Also, watch in the future, these cities are 15-minute cities, are going to be all over. And if you want to leave with your electric car, it'll be almost impossible.